Hey, what's going on, guys? Mike Glover, Actual. I'm giving you guys a walk around of my bug out rig, the ultimate bug out rig, the Scout Kenai Bowen custom setup on my F350. I'm gonna give you a walk around, but first let me give you just a little tour of where I'm at. So beautiful. And it's October and there's nobody out here, which is amazing. Like when I do these bug out vehicles, I call them bug out vehicles. I'm not trying to be facetious. I'm actually saying, like, if you recreate, if you go out and do cool stuff with your family for extended periods of time, which I like to do, by benefit, what you're doing is building like the ultimate bug out rig. A bug out rig is simply a vehicle that can self-sustain you and your family, moving from a bad situation to a better situation. And we've seen, whether it's the hurricanes, the fires, the civil unrest, we've seen in recent history in the last, I'd say, couple years, that this is quite a possibility. That's kind of what I did when I build these rigs. I just do it naturally because I like the bug out concept of being prepared and being able to jump in one rig with my family and not worried about, am I gonna make it? Am I gonna have enough gas? Am I gonna have enough fuel? Shelter, food, water, all the staples and necessities of survival are on board because of the way you build out the rig. I opted for the Scout Kenai. This Scout Kenai camper is sitting on a 9-foot bed with a Bowen custom aluminum flatbed setup. It has all the cabinetry in aluminum, which weighs in about 900 pounds. The Scout Kenai weighs in about 1,300 pounds, but doesn't get me even close to my load capacity of, I believe it's like 3,700 pounds on this particular F350. That makes a difference because these vehicles, if you get a 2500 or F250, it potentially would not be enough. So you need a bigger truck. So in this camper, this is made for a flatbed, or I'm sorry, a truck bed. You lose a lot of space because if this was just a truck bed sitting here, you would have no advantage of being able to store anything. You'd lose all that space and you don't gain it anywhere in the Kenai. Like the only thing that allows you to store is this cabinet here that opens up, and I mean, I'm barely fitting a chainsaw in here, right? So not a ton of room. When I look at this particular setup, why would I need this? Well, I transport things that I need for training, for example, guns, ammo, fishing equipment. I mean, whatever it is, I'm gonna have it in my rig anyway. So if I didn't have this setup, I would be putting all of my equipment inside of here, and that's just not gonna work. The coolest thing about the 9-foot bed is you get the extra space, the additional space for this. I believe this is 18 inches of width, which could fit a full-size 37-inch tire, which I'm eventually going to. Now, here's what I hate about this particular setup. This needs to go, right? This basic wheel, which I believe is a 31-inch wheel, needs to go because it doesn't offer me a lot of clearance. I don't want to increase the ride height. I mean, dude, this thing is super tall. But when I have 37s with a low suspension setup, which I'm going to get from Carly Suspensions, that Carly setup with a 37 is going to set me up proper. Now it's still going to be super high, but I want to clear the drivetrain. I want to clear the pumpkin, the exhaust, all of this away from the ground, which is super close to the ground right now. So absolutely love this. Absolutely love it. I'm not particularly a fan of these locking mechanisms, but I just can't think of any other fancy way to keep it reasonably priced, because you need a key for every one of these. And opening and closing these and locking and unlocking, especially if you just go on a hike down Flaming Gorge, you're gonna have to do a whole lock setup. I like getting on site, unlocking them all, and then doing my thing. I've got a whole ton of stuff. I'm gonna do a loadout video of all the stuff that I carry on board, but let me give you a quick tour of the inside. The inside, I opted in for the option for the toilet and then the shower. This rinse kit is pretty cool. This puts water in the bucket. You apply pressure by pumping it, and then you got a pressure valve here with a shower. But man, it's so inefficient. It like takes a lot of time. You don't get a lot of pressure per the pumps. Now they have a rinse kit plus, which I'm looking at, that does it automatically via power. I'm gonna do that. This shower setup drapes this down right here uses magnets, and this pan drains out of the bottom of the vehicle. So your gray water just kind of floats into the dirt, which is acceptable, which is pretty cool, except this is such a small space, but you can't get away from that. Like, a lot of people don't like to opt in for shitters and showers. Man, I don't know why you would ever not want that on board, but I get it if you don't have kids. Like, I have kids, they have to pee constantly. We need to be able to set this up, and I like the convenience of not having to stop at gas stations, period, to use the restroom, just because I'm a germaphobe. I'm not a big fan of germs. See that Yeti 1500? That Yeti 1500X, I'm not a fan. So the solar panel setup right now, you can see it's on 16%, and I've barely used it. With this Dometic fridge, which comes in as an option, the Dometic fridge drains this thing like crazy. The fact that there's no power set up to convert the power and then power it via the alternator, which is your truck, which is a driving generator, kind of bums me out. You know, I'm not a fan of that power system. Yeah, you could power it actually via the 110 in the vehicle by removing it, but the fact that I have to continually like move it back and forth, the fact that it just drains really bad, the solar panels on the roof, they're not very efficient at doing it. It's just, I'm just not a fan of that. What are the other options? Well, inverting the power, a dual battery setup, and then when you drive, it's constantly powering it. I like that idea versus trickle charging it. I spent a day training with Greg Anderson in Washington and PNW, and as I was doing that, I was in the shade, and it completely drained my batteries. So this Dometic fridge, nice, but massive, and just not very efficient in power. I almost prefer a Yeti and just running ice. This bed setup, queen bed setup, plenty of room. The coolest thing about this is this little setup here. So this is a portal into the hole. What? So this goes up into the rooftop tent. So I can access this from inside, and then the kids could be up in here. The only thing I don't like is this turns into a queen by extending the platform. Not very stable. I'm waiting for this thing to break, especially with my big ass. But getting up in it, they're like on the edge all the time. So I wish this was a little bit further forward, and then you accessed it from the very edge, because they could move it back a little bit. If they could move it back, that would be beneficial, because you can go straight from the middle of the bed up into here, and I could even keep that open. So the placement of this isn't just ideal, but I know why they did this, because this is the placement of the original hole to get ventilation. So yeah, I can't complain too much. This is pretty cool. This is the table setup that rotates out, but this turns into another bed. I don't know who could sleep here. Mike Hernandez, maybe one of my guys. It just won't be me. Kitchen setup, really good. It hooks into propane, which keeps it external. So this is the connection, but the propane takes on the outside, which I'll show you. And this allows me for a lot. Like, this is one of the best parts of this. This and these awesome, amazing windows. The ability to get the wind from here to here and get air flowing through here, amazing. Like, this is the way you do it. This right here, this Lifesaver, the biggest piece of crap on the planet. Like, I won't sugarcoat it. I mean, everybody I've seen use this thing, it has failed. My hose failed in the first day of use, which I don't know why they would put this in here if it continues to fail. Every video I've seen from Scout of making this, or of using this, has failed. So I actually had to adapt the Camelback connection, because that's what this is, and now I could just trickle it out of the hose instead of spraying it out of the hose. But just a really flawed system. I mean, they overcomplicate the way this is in use, and they under-engineered the hose, and it's just a simple hose they did a couple adapters with, and they're impossible to find. They're not in stock on the website. And then I went to REI, which is supposed to have them in stock, and they're out of stock. So just this whole thing is like, ugh. I mean, I wish they would come up with a different solution besides this lifesaver. This might be good as a standalone, but in this kitchen setup right here, I don't think it's a good fit, especially because the Scout. I mean, look at this, how beautiful that is. All of this stands for quality to me. All the little nooks and crannies, the ability to do certain things. It's just, I'm surprised that they would do this. So the battery, I'm not a fan of. That's one of the things. Secondly, the way the rooftop tent is accessed up here. Let me identify the third thing that I'm just not a fan of. Simple things like this, like the kids had macaroni and cheese last night and this poured out of it. This is their gray water because we drained it out of the sink. But it's like, oh, I mean, maybe like an adapter that just rolls it out. I mean, you could make an adapter and do stuff, but for the price point, just kind of the simple things we could fix. And I'll address it. There's some of these things that I'll address with a company, but hopefully they fix it. If not, it's just, I mean, it's just nice to have, but you think for the price, it's like, you don't want gray water dripping. I mean, this, I think, would pretty much drip clear if you had a regular truck bed, but I wouldn't do this without the Bowen Customs. Like, there's no way I'd do that. Rooftop tent access is all the way up here. They do a lot of cool adapters, like these adapter plates that have Rotopacks, get everything external. I love that. Let me tell you my favorite part of this. There's an awning there, pretty cool. I'll probably rarely use that awning. My favorite thing is this guy. So this is a diesel heater. Now, I was at first kind of like, diesel heaters, like you use diesel fuel to heat it, and then it pumps hot exhaust into, and I'm saying that wrong, I'm not an engineer. It's not exhaust, but hot air into the cab, and you keep it warm. Well, let me express to you how important this is. So this has the different vents for it. And then when you look at this right here, this is the panel. So you hit this, you push this button right here, and it goes to heat, and then it kicks it on. I mean, I'm going to turn it off because it's 64 degrees in here. This, for me, especially sleeping last night where the low was almost in the mid 30s, huge temperature swings. This, for me, is like so crucial for camping and extending your adventures into the wintertime, into winter seasons. The first night I slept in this, I didn't use this because I didn't know how to set it up. I froze my ass off. This is aluminum, guys. I mean, you might as well just be sleeping in the trunk of your car. Hell, I just sleep in the actual car itself and put the seat down and you'll have a heater. But this is necessary. Do not get this without this diesel heater. Get this option. The bad thing is I run super hot. So I don't need much of this. Like, I turned it off like 3 times last night because it got too hot, but it warmed me up intensely. But there's no air conditioning. That's saying like that's critical. But where I want to go, I want to go to Arizona, I want to go to the border of Mexico, I want to go to Baja, California. I want to do all seasons. And the fact that there's not air on board, kind of disappointing. Guys, I want to keep this kind of short. I just wanted to kind of do a quick walk around, kind of first glance. There's a lot of things I'm upgrading: Carly suspension, wheels and tires, mounts and adapters and all that stuff. And I'm also going to do a loadout video of all the things that I carry on board. I'm going to lay it all out, even lay myself out, my dog Pearl. I don't even know where Pearl's at. But I want to show you guys kind of like the thinking behind some of the things I load out. Like you saw a chainsaw. Why would you carry a chainsaw? Well, right now, especially without 37s, in the backcountry, if I get into a position where I can't turn around because this rig is massive with a 9-foot bed, I need to cut through wood. I would do that. I would clear the wood line before I just bail. Or I guess some of you guys would say you just back up. Yeah, that's kind of silly. I guess you could just back up. Anyways, I like chainsaws, are cool, okay? Husqvarna is cool. Leave your comments and feedback below of the things that you want to see. I'm going to do some of the reviews on some of this equipment in detail, like the rinse kit. I mean, the rinse kit's cool, but I want to get the rinse kit plus and show you guys some of the specific equipment and why it's an advantage or disadvantage. If you like this vlog style, it's kind of easy for me to hold a GoPro versus having my media guys, you know, come out with me. It's convenient for me, at least. If you like this kind of style, the audio is good, the video is not bad, let me know and I'll continue to do the vlog version of this. Just want to say thanks, guys. Subscribe, hit the notification tab, and make sure you go follow Fieldcraft Survival on YouTube. Peace out.